Recording your piano playing is a fantastic way that you can make progress, I've found. And today I'd like to share with you 3 different ways in which it can really add value. Are you sitting comfortably? Then let's begin. Hi, this is Tommy with Tommy's Piano Corner, the place for returning pianists, or indeed anybody who loves piano, to share tips and ideas of how to get the best from this great hobby. If it is your first trip here, then please do think about subscribing. Simply hit the little icon in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen now, and it's all done for you. I mentioned recently in one of my videos recording my playing is a regular part of my piano practice. And I got a comment asking, well, can you give us a video then that explains maybe how you find it helpful and what's good about it? So in response to that viewer request, today's video is going to give you 3 ways I've discovered that can really help you when you record yourself. Now, the first of my ideas is, I guess in some ways fairly pretty obvious, and that's just to record a piece as you practice it. Now, generally here, I don't bother recording the video. I just plug my microphone into my iPad and I record the piece as part of my practice session. And the real value I find that we get from doing this is that when we're practicing, right, if we play a wrong note, generally speaking, it's patently obvious, okay? We know we've got a note wrong, but we don't always notice a lot of the finer details because we're concentrating so hard on the playing part that we don't have that much brain power left to do the listening part. So let me try and give you an example. Many years ago, when I was learning Silotti's transcription of The Swan by Saint-Saëns, now at the time I didn't have a microphone and I didn't really record my playing so much as part of my practice. And this piece, the thing really that's, makes it or breaks it to my mind, is that you have to have the melody that sings above the accompaniment, which is made even more difficult by the fact that the melody is sort of inside, it's the notes inside the accompaniment, not just necessarily the top ones or the bottom ones, as is more normal for us. So I put in lots and lots of effort to this, and I was quite convinced that in actual fact I'd got the melody singing nicely, I'd got the accompaniment nice and light. And this was about the time that I bought my microphone. So one day I plugged it in and I recorded my playing, and I was really surprised to find out that actually there was nothing like as much separation as I was hearing when I listened to it, because of course, as we say, the camera never lies, but the microphone never lies either. And what I found then is that I knew that I needed to put more effort into making this difference and this distinction. As I said, one of the reasons I think that this happens is because our brain's sort of expecting to hear something because we're convinced that we're telling our fingers to do it. And therefore, because it's focusing so much on the fingers, it sort of makes, I don't know, call them assumptions if you like, to your hearing. And it makes it sound to you somewhat better than it is. And then when you listen to it coldly a few hours later through your headphones, you can actually realize that in actual fact, it doesn't quite sound as you thought. This is why, after I'd done it with that first piece, I started to make it just a regular pattern of my practice. And you don't have to wait until you think you can play a piece great to record it, because of course, you're not recording it for the point of saying, oh, look how well I can play. You're recording it to see, I wonder what that actually really sounds like. The second way I found that recording yourself can be extremely insightful and helpful is when you simply just record an entire practice session. So I mean, you set up your microphone, you set up your video, and you just leave it to record you, and you just get on and do what your normal practicing would be. I did in fact release a video in this a few months ago when I discovered just how much I learned after I recorded a practice session. Because in short, whilst I'm always convinced that I practice, sensibly and mindfully, and I don't just note bash, and I'm concentrating on not playing wrong notes and concentrating on, getting the most from it, what I discovered, almost to my horror, I have to admit, was that there were some points in the practice session where if I was doing anything more than note bashing, I would be very, very surprised. And if it was doing me the remotest bit of good, I would also have been very, very surprised. But the worst thing about this, of course, is that I was convinced that that was something I didn't do when I practiced piano. Another way that recording an entire session can help is that it also helps you to notice if you're starting to pick up bad habits on your hands and your shoulders. Are you slouching as you play, or are you sitting, more normally? And I noticed, for example, that in some pieces I would almost bob up and down on the stool I was playing, and what is that all about? So I found that it can be really helpful. I wouldn't do it all the time. There's no point doing it every day, but every couple of months I will record a full session, and then I'll take my iPad over to Starbucks with me, sit and watch it in a corner and see what I can learn. Now, the final way that I find recording myself to be really useful is when I think I've actually got a piece to a point that it's good enough to record, so I decide I want to record a performance of it. Now, you've seen me say before, right, that I don't believe it's necessary to particularly be able to get a perfect performance in one take, okay? I saw an interview with Lang Lang where he was talking about the Goldberg variations recordings that he did, and he recorded each variation 5 times so that there was enough material for the edits, in his words. Equally, I saw a video of Arthur Rubinstein some years ago in recording sessions, and he embraced the process of recording because it gave him an opportunity to go back where he wasn't entirely satisfied with something and get it that little bit better. Therefore, when I record my own recordings, I cheat, okay? So I decide up front where I'm going to restart from if anything goes wrong or if something's not quite how I want, and then I just repeat that bit. So that means at the end I can cut out the bits that I don't need and string together something that, is okay to post on YouTube or on Facebook or wherever. However, and this is where it really comes into its own, you will quite often think, or certainly I found this, right, that we can play something quite well and, we don't get it right perfectly every time, but if we repeat something 2 or 3 times, that it will get a take that's good enough to use. Then imagine my shock when 10th repetition of something, there's a small section that I still can't get right. And of course, this then tells me that I'm not quite as ready as I thought, because I'm fairly convinced that our brains play tricks on us all the time, and one of them is once we've managed to play something right once or twice, the brain remembers those once or twice as if that's the normal pattern, and it sort of forgets the 99 train wrecks that we had before. So then I think taking the time to put ourselves through this process of seeing if we can get a good enough recording that we wouldn't be embarrassed putting up online is really, really valuable. First, it's an acid test of how well we actually know something. And secondly, that means that if we then decide to put the piece to one side and come back to it later, we've actually got a recording of what it sounded like the last time we were practicing, and therefore we know where to focus our efforts. Give these ideas a try for yourself and see how you get on. Ultimately, it's not that they take you any more time or you need to do anything radically different to try them out. And I'm sure you'll find, as I did, that they do really help an awful lot. So if you're not already, please do subscribe to Tommy's Piano Corner. Don't forget to click the little bell icon so you're notified of new videos as and when they're released. I thank you very much for watching and look forward to seeing you very soon.